Welcome to the second edition of Whiteboard Wednesday. Enjoyed doing the first one and got some good feedback, so we'll continue this momentum and trying to give people an insight behind the life in an AFL club, particularly as it relates to obviously the Melbourne Football Club, but also for those who have a strong interest in the business of sport as well as obviously the sport itself. What I'm going to talk to you about today, which a lot of you might, you probably got the first opportunity now to turn it all off, because I'm going to talk about more the business side of it all, and in fact the importance of an AFL club establishing for itself a profit model, and I'll talk about the significance of that in a moment. So if today's lesson is not going to be about how we move the ball out of the back line, or how we are going to fix up our centre bounce structures or whatever it might be, but I can assure you that future Whiteboard Wednesdays are going to involve coaching staff, as well as people like Tim Harrington talking about list management, John Pulakakis talking about how we're going to evolve the brand, and the guys who are experts in those particular areas. But the profit model is I think, the most fundamental thing in any business. So if I'm meeting with people and talking about their business, whether it's a junior club, whether it's a high-level business, whether it's a company starting up their own organisation, the first question I ask is, tell me about your profit model. And the reason for that is not the sort of the one-dimensional aspect of it, of simply saying, oh, we need to generate all this cash so we can make profit, but basically looking at all the things that, by having a sustainable profit model, what it provides for you, particularly in the area of developing your club. One of my favourite sayings in sport, I can't say I'm a huge baseball fan, but I actually love reading about baseball, and I think it's because they spend a lot of time thinking, not as much time actually doing. And cricket can be a little bit the same, but some of the baseball writings out of the States are some of it's beautifully written, it's articulate, but it's also, because it's such a passionate part of the United States of America, they call it a pastime rather than a sport, and I think that probably indicates just how much it means. And it's the passion in and around sport which perhaps makes it that much different. And it's a quote from a great baseball identity, William Wrigley, who's the first person to actually commercialise chewing gum way back in the day, and he described baseball as too much of a sport to be a business and too much of a business to be a sport. And it's the differences, and that's mainly relating to people's fierce competitiveness when it comes to their pride in their own club and the great emotion that actually that creates. So what I want to talk about, as I said today, is this notion of a profit model and what it actually means. Again, I'll go to a framework. The framework is something which I'll continue to work from our Redham Blueprint, which is our overall strategic plan, and on page 5 of this we actually do articulate what we call a profit model. And I'll explain that now. Firstly, like any business, we have this environment of which we actually operate in, and let's call it the world, for want of a better thing. It's basically any business needs to have a strong understanding of what opportunities there are in their particular area. We're obviously impacted by world trends. Last year, for instance, at the same time as we're trying to rebuild our football club, we had the global financial crisis. These sorts of things all impact quite clearly on sport. And in the middle of all of this opportunity, we're trying to create this thing which is just simply a profit model. So what is the profit model then a product of? Well, in a football club environment, there is obviously, the first thing you look at is, well, how do we generate our revenue? And like any business, and we break it up, I'll put them up now, but we've got 8 different components to this particular model, and I'll just put those in. But the very first thing you talk about is the customer. Okay, in our case, we vaguely break our customer into 2 different areas. The first one is the people who have an emotional attachment. They're already tied to our football club. They have almost an irrational association with it all. They'll place their love of the club ahead of other things in life. I have people who they talk openly about their love of the club the same way as they talk about the love of their family. It has a deep emotion, and that's largely due to the generational aspects of what supporter is. But quite clearly in a footy club you have another customer, which are those who have a very rational association, companies who are looking to build their brands through our organisation. And last year, we had great examples of that with both Hancock and Kaspersky, who saw the football club as a great opportunity to build their brand, and they expect very rational returns on their particular area. The next area, which without focused on it, is okay, if we're going to raise our money, well, where do we actually spend our money, and how do we balance all these things up? Well, quite clearly our team. forms part of it. That's our major expenditure item. We're a business which doesn't operate solely to create a profit. We operate so we can produce successful teams, give benefits to our members, all these sorts of things. But the team and what it actually costs us, and if the profit model's not right, quite clearly this is the most compromised area. Our club at this stage doesn't spend as much as other clubs on building resources to ensure that the team gets the best chance of fulfilling, its full potential. So my objective as a CEO and our board is to create a situation whereby our players have, when they take the field, they do so knowing that they've had exactly the same opportunities as any other club in which they're competing against.